Welcome to Conversations in Between the Realms, a podcast where the mystical meets the everyday. Join Amanda Nova and Beth Renov each week as we dive into the profound journey of awakening, sharing our experiences, insights, and the lessons that guide us toward our divine purpose. Together, we awaken and guide our souls and others, exploring the magic of living in the 3D while staying connected to the higher realms, embracing the challenges, and celebrating the growth. You've been guided here for a reason. Trust in the journey and let the unfolding begin.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversations in Between the Realms. I'm Amanda Nova and I am here with Beth Renov, and we are recording again because we did an episode yesterday and we were able to launch a mini episode, but we have been having a ton of tech issues, at least here in my household. And the energy is crazy, and I think that's what's causing a lot of tech issues. So we're re-recording, and we're excited to be here, and we're having lots of fun. I don't know. What's going on? Beth, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, my tech's fine, so I think it's over by you.
My tech is fine. My tech is not okay. I'm not okay. Yeah, it's really interesting, actually. I looked at the Schumann resonance this morning, and there was a huge influx of white, like high frequency energy. And when I see that, usually there is a tech outage happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you had a little bit of tech stuff yesterday.
Yeah,
So,
after I did, but
mhm,
not during. And
yeah.
I was like, Mercury is not in retrograde. Like, what is going on?
Nothing is in retrograde. This is actually a really good time to be manifesting in flow. And one of the reasons why we wanted to re-record is because we loved so much what we talked about. And what we talked about, we started to see synchronicities everywhere of other people mentioning it. And we were like, okay, let's talk about this now because everyone else is talking about it. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's things happening. There's always something happening, but there's no retrogrades. It's just the tech is teching. At least here I mean, I live in the woods, basically. So I don't know what I'm expecting, but there's not going to be tech issues over here.
Well, it's just so funny because whenever we get to something that's really on point, this happened with another episode too, where it was like you were even yesterday during it, like when you were talking about things that were aha that we kept seeing other people say, it would go out, and I kept telling Amanda, you sound like rap or hip hop from mid 2000
Yes,
tens,
yes,
like when they
yes.
started changing the voice and it was all like a tech kind of I don't know,
Yeah, like full Slim
electronic.
Shady. Yeah, like full Slim Shady. Maybe I was going full dolphin. And
Maybe.
I just said 5 minutes ago we were on a call, and I was just saying I've been talking to the birds around my house, and I was thinking maybe it's the birds that are messing with my technology because I've been talking to them so much. I'm like, hello, bird, to the birds.
We have a bird we have a wreath right next to our front door, and they made a nest there. So every time you open the door, you're alarmed and jarred because this bird is flying out. I'm like, I love that you made your home in our home though.
Yes, well, that's exactly. We have this light that it's enclosed, but there's an opening, and these birds made a nest there,
Mm.
and they fly in and out. And so I was just casually telling them in bird language, like most people do on a regular basis, that they're safe, and I was just saying hello, and my daughter's like, "What are you doing, Mama?" And I'm like, telling the birds that we're good. Just telling the birds they're safe here, like a casual person does all the
Yeah.
time.
You're like the bird Airbnb. You're like, we have
Yeah.
breakfast for you. We have twigs to make your home. Everything you
Just
need.
letting them know. Yeah, just letting them know. And I actually think that they've been leaving me feathers. I found a second feather yesterday. I've been finding these white feathers, and I think that they've been leaving them for me as presents because I've been talking to them. I haven't
Okay.
told you that, I don't think.
No, but I found one on my walk yesterday.
You did?
A
What
white
color was it?
feather.
A white feather?
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
So synchronicity again,
Yes. Yeah. So lots of synchronicities. And I think, one of the things that we really wanted to talk about that we've really been feeling is leaning into stepping through the fear, leaning into surrender, and also just hope and finding some lightness on the journey of spirituality, and really that it doesn't have to be so heavy and so painful all the time, and like surrendering to that, right? And like, I think we really want to be some light and some hope and some lightness to people on their journey, right? Because like there's so much pain and release and like anguish like in the world. Like this is like a scary, dark time, and I think like we would like to just be a little bit of light for some people. At least that's what
Right.
we hope to be.
Absolutely. And I think spirituality, what we were saying yesterday, and I think I said in my own little video I posted on Substack and on my page, is that like the surrendering and spirituality is the hope. It's really surrendering and letting go of trying to control everything because so much is out of our control, right? So yeah, we can't, you know, do anything about the economy just being ourselves. We can't do anything about craziness in the world. We can't do anything about climate change. Like, yes, all of us together can, but like right now in this moment, we're not going to snap our fingers and change anything. So we have to have this belief. And I think these belief systems and, you know, if we believe things are going to be okay, like you said, like if we think there's going to be an apocalypse, there's going to be. But if we are like,
Right.
you know what, I have faith that like people are going to be better than this darkness, if like we believe that things will be okay and we will still continue to innovate and adapt, then we will be okay. And these are like the timelines you're choosing. But like in your own life, I think those negative beliefs, that negativity you're taking in, like whether it's from movies, TV, news, like you were saying your dad is watching the news 24/7, my dad too, and it's just like constant fear. So your life is going to be viewed through that lens, you know? So we have to add in the joy and the different ways we can bring that in, and also challenge our belief systems of like, okay, if I'm thinking negatively about myself, yeah, I'm going to attract negative things because like attracts like.
Yeah. And what I think is so interesting that kind of has come up over the past like couple of days is like, people turn to spirituality when they feel a loss of control. But the reason they turn to it is they're looking to psychics and intuitives because they want answers. They want to be told what is going to happen in my life, what is going to happen in the economy, what's going to happen in politics. And what they don't realize is the power and the control that they have is in their own life and their own creation of their own reality. So nobody can tell you what is going to happen in those things. Where you have the power and control is in your own belief systems, in your own environment, in in what you are consuming, right? In your own vibration of those things. And so where you're looking for control of some of these like negative things, you're turning to other people where you should be really turning to yourself.
Totally. Like you always are looking outside yourself for answers, but really what everyone should say is the answer is within you. You know, only
Hmm.
you know
Yeah,
these things. And you have free will anyway. So it's like, yeah, you can go to a psychic, they can tell you, but you don't have to do any of those things, right?
right,
Like the
right.
right person might come along but if you have this belief system, if you're not good enough and you're still in that lower frequency, you're not going to get that person. You're going to stop it. That free will of believing in the darkness is going to stop you from bringing in the light. So I feel like that should be like a song
Yeah,
lyric.
right, right. I know. I feel like for some reason too, I feel like we're writing a country song. We're writing a country song and a rap song. I also feel like, this is also a really good follow-up, I think, to the ritual that you just gave everybody for the new moon. And if you didn't listen to it and you didn't do it, you didn't miss it by, not doing it. I always like to tell people like 5 days prior to a new moon or full moon or 5 days after is like kind of like a window, right, where you could do it. So, you can definitely still do the ritual that Beth gave, but what it was for gaining clarity. And I really think that creation and manifestation of the world that you want to have, your environment, the life that you want, is about deciding what it is that you want. And that is the biggest thing that I think people struggle with, is finding that clarity, right? Is like, what is it that I want, right? So like that is step one, right? Is like, okay, what is it that I want? So you can have any type of relationship, any type of partner, you can have any type of world. And yes, it is the beliefs about yourself, but first you have to decide what it is that you want.
Right.
Then it is, what do I deserve, right? Like, do I deserve to have it? Am I worthy of it? But like, what do you want first, right?
But I think you can't sometimes understand what you want until you realize those beliefs are there, right?
Sure.
Because it's like
Hmm.
clutter in front of you. You got to clear out the clutter.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people come from this victim mentality of like, this keeps happening to me. Like, at some point, you have to be like, what's the common denominator here, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And I love the Wanda, like the Wanda, is it Wanda Sykes? It's like, you motherfucker.
Exactly. You know, and it's
Yeah.
not to say like you want all this, but it's just like you are the block in your way. And sometimes we can't even understand what we want till we realize, oh my God, I'm talking to myself like this. I believe this about myself, and I'm sending that out into the universe. So, like, sometimes, and talking about surrendering to your own reality you live in right now, right?
Hmm.
What am I saying to myself? How am I treating myself? How do I let other people treat myself? How am I seeing what I want right now? Like, do I even understand what I want? And how can I do that? By understanding what's and feeling into what's not going well. Like, if I'm constantly feeling anxious, right? Where do I feel it in my body? Maybe, like, if it's in your heart, like you feel it in your chest or you feel it in your solar plexus, it could have to do with your feelings about yourself, feelings about the world, your heart. Maybe it's you're guarded, you have this wall up, you know, like which chakra or which body part can tell you the emotion. Like, if it's in your back, it's often anger, grief, you know. So
Hmm.
it's really
Yeah.
paying attention to your body, where you're storing this, what you're feeling, so that you can release it. And full moons are
Hmm.
great for that, but anytime you can release it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
that,
like carrying that burden, right, on your
exactly,
back.
yes,
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know.
and I think too, like your point, like earlier about the consumption of things, like the creating of that environment. I think like that I sent you a reel earlier this morning that I thought was so interesting about taking like giving orders to the universe and the
Yes.
universe taking orders. Like I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Like this, it was like this woman and, basically talking to herself, right? But she was like talking to the universe and she was like, I'm not worthy, like I'm a failure. And the universe was like, yep, thank you. Like I'm gonna give that back to you, right? Like, and she was kind of like doing this whole thing and it was made so much sense. And it was like the things we say, the things we read, the things we see. And that's what I was saying yesterday about my dad is like, I'm like, oh my God, like dad, like the people you talk to, the things you watch on TV, the things you eat, the thing like all of those things make up what you believe, what like all of that is makes up your identity, right? What you believe about yourself, and all of that makes up what you attract. So if you want a different life, if you want other things, if you want to step into this other version of yourself and another timeline, if you want change, like real, like we're talking hardcore change, like Beth and I are two people who are talking about changing our lives right now, like big pivots, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking big pivots from, different careers, like big change, right? Like you have to change what you say, what you think, what you consume. Like you can't just be like, okay, well, like now I'm going to just like teeny, it is maybe little steps into big things, but like you can't expect change if you're not willing to change all those other things too.
Right. Yeah. You can't expect change to do the same thing over and over again either, you know? Like,
Right.
and that's what I was doing. Like, I've recently overhauled how I eat, exercising, and like, I really was like, I was bed rotting for so long and I was just eating whatever because I was like, it makes me feel good. But I'm like, does it? You know? And that was like where I had to surrender and be like, you're not being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't make you feel good. You're actually just perpetuating a cycle. So
Yeah.
I made that change and I do feel so much better. And I didn't even realize till someone asked me, I'm like, wait, actually, these are all the ways that my life has already changed since I changed what I put in my body, how I treat my body, really taking care of it instead of thinking that just resting and lying in my bed and being on social media, like I've gotten off there more and it's just changed my life. And that's another way we surrender. And I thought, and like,
Hmm.
listen, this week I was really frustrated because I want this business to, like, to take off. And not that
Mhm.
I'm not seeing clients, not that I'm not doing it, but I'm just like, do I have to lay down? Do I have to like bow to you? Like, what is surrendering, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah. And that's what we were talking about too, like, about the universe like sending signs and also like seeing the signs, right? Like I think that it's so funny because like we also are like, send us a sign, and the universe is like, here's a feather. And the universe is like 333, and we're like, send us a sign, and they're like 444, and we're like, send us a sign, and they're like, here's a tree, like whisper, and like, and I'm like, send me a sign, and they're like, here's a seizure, bitch. I'm like, they're like, okay.
They're like,
I'm
you
like,
got
oh my
it.
God. They're like, she doesn't listen. She
Right.
doesn't listen. But like, like I think it's like listening and like really paying attention to like, the things. And I think we do make excuses. I think it's really like, and when you know yourself, I think we are two people also who really know ourselves and look at ourselves, and not everybody is willing to do that.
Right.
And I think it's surrendering into like who we really, really are. Like, I think for me, like the channeling thing, like really has been like a really big lesson in surrender for me, like physical surrender, but also like like all of the surrendering. Like, it's really like a surrendering, like it's been like riding a horse, truly, physically, because I have to physically
Right.
surrender, but also like surrendering into like, I am like such a weirdo and it's okay. And like, I love it, but I'm such a weirdo and I've always been a weirdo. And like, that's okay.
And we talked about this yesterday too, because a lot of the surrender is control and judgment. It's letting go of control. I mean, channeling, you're really letting go and letting, not, and again, not possession, but letting someone come in and occupy your space, which you're like, wait, I can't control it as much. Like, you can get out of it whenever you want, but you are trying to let someone in to your physical energy and space to send messages, and it's the ultimate form of letting go of control. And the judgment is like, yeah, I'm a weirdo. But then we like project that onto other people. We're so
Yeah.
afraid of what other people will think, what they will say. But ultimately, it's like what you feel about you. Because if you're okay with you, kind of all the nonsense and the noise drowns out.
Yeah. And I think it's the difference too between like who we think we are, or who we think we're supposed to be, and who
Yes.
we really are. And like, when I say weirdo, I mean it in a totally like fun and funky way, and not like in a like, wow, look at that weirdo like eating pigeons on the side of the road. Like, I mean it in like a totally like cool and funky, like look at
Right.
my funky sweater kind of way. Like, it's
Right.
like, you know what I mean? And like, I feel like I really, really am embracing for the first time, like who I truly am, and not who I always feel like I'm supposed to be. And I'll even give it like from a different perspective. Like, I really have always felt like I am like, oh, I'm Virgo. I'm so like critical. I need to be so organized. I need to be so like I am this. I'm so type A. I need to wake up super early. I wake up super early. Like, I'm a workaholic. Like, and I like am not actually like that at all. Like, that is not how I am, but I have forced myself into this persona my entire life, and I took on that identity. I have lived it, loved it, like my whole like, not loved it, but hated it, right? Like, but that is who I have always thought that I was. And that is actually not who I am at all.
Mm-hmm.
And now I am realizing like, no, like I don't have the energy to keep that up anymore. Like, that's not
Wow.
who I am.
That's
And how
so
weird is
interesting.
that? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, what's interesting is, okay, mine's like kind of flipped because I've always been who I am, but I've always felt like I should be someone else. But I am really like, I've always marched to my own drum beat. And I just always beat myself up inside. I never forced it externally. Like, I mean, if you ask my parents, I've never gone the straight and narrow, like literally, like not
yeah,
straight, but like, but also like I never wanted like a normal job. Like, I always did these like random things. Like, I was never interested in necessarily what everybody else was. And I really beat myself up. Like even TV shows, I'm like, I can't stand reality TV for some reason. And like everybody around me, that's all they talk about. I'm like, is there something wrong with me? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, there's nothing wrong with you. You just don't like the same things. Like, and it's
Yeah.
not a good or bad. It just is. And like, I don't want to be in corporate. Like, I feel like someone is like strangling me, like, and suffocating me.
Yeah.
I am meant to do things in my own way, and that's totally okay. But it took me like acceptance of myself to be okay with how I actually am.
Yeah. And I feel like that's how I've always truly been. And I always like kind of like did the popular thing. Like I remember like when Wicked came out, like I was like, oh my God, like I have always been an alphaba, but have been living my life as oh my God, now I'm not gonna remember her name, the other one.
Glenda?
The Glenda. Like I've always been like the popular one, like fitting in with the groups. And like, and something I realized too about channeling, and like this isn't what we plan on talking about, but this is just how our podcast goes. Like something I realized about channeling is that I always thought my ability to chameleon into various groups was a gift. And then as I got older and went into therapy for a long time, I was like, oh my God, I have no identity, right? Like, I'm like, this is just like, I have no identity. But now I'm realizing that it was just my ability to channel
Right.
and connect. So now I'm like, it was a gift. It wasn't a gift. It was a gift to like over ability to connect. And now I'm realizing like that it really was just like this over connectivity, not a loss, right?
Yes, I
That
love
I
that.
just could connect. So it really has been a gift like all this time. But like that ability of like, oh, like I just am over connecting to so many people that like I just was like, oh my God, I like don't know like who I truly am. And now I'm realizing like, oh, like who I truly am. I'm just like, it's okay to just be me, right? And me is kind of like a little bit of like a flippy floppy, and like I'm a little bit like here, and I'm more of my rising sign, which is Libra, which is like the
Right.
scales.
Right. And if I was your therapist, I'd be like, that's a huge breakthrough and very insightful. you know? So, because that is, and like it took
She's
me,
listening.
they're listening. So, but I think it's that's the work, and it's not just therapy, that's spiritually. If you want to let go and surrender, you have to know that stuff about yourself, because that is the form of your highest self. And that's why in childhood we're so much more connected, we're so much more authentic, and then we learn these, um we learn these internalized ways to be and these roles and who we are supposed to be. And the thing, as a therapist, I say to my clients is like, throw away the word should unless it's life or death,
Mhm.
because there is
Yeah.
no should. It's just what feels right for you, right?
Right.
And there's no
Right.
right or wrong there, unless you're literally going out and being homicidal.
Right.
you know?
Right. And I think that like coming back to like this moon and everything that's coming through, like I just feel like who you truly are is coming through in who you want to be. And
Yes.
so like there is an authenticity in where we are going. And I think that that's what people are missing, because there is like a change. And
Mm-hmm.
so it feels uncomfortable because it's like we're stepping through, but that is where the bravery is coming from, because I feel like a lot of us have felt afraid to show our true selves. Like it has felt for me a lot safer to show type A, workaholic, Amanda business degree, has her stuff together. I'm early, I'm on time. A lot more than like, the like a slob kebab, like, the version of me that like my husband knows, right? Like, and he's like, Amanda like would rather die than do paperwork. Like all of her stuff is expired. Like, does she have a license? We don't know. Like that version of me where he's like, and I'm like, why should I have a license? I'm an alien. Like I was like, why do I need, like, I was like, a license? Like, I'm literally like cajillion years old.
Right.
He's like, well, I'm here on this planet. You need a license
Right.
to drive our daughter. Okay. You know what I mean? Like that stuff, that's like the stuff that's important.
And there's another form of surrendering, is to the reality that you feel like you're in like two different realms or like a million different realms, right?
Yeah.
And but you live in the 3D right now. That's your
Yeah.
reality you've created and you've asked for, right? So it's surrendering to the fact that I live this 5D life in a 3D world, and
Mhm.
these 3D people need licenses, they need identification. Especially when they have seizures, and what if you're alone, right? So it's safety, and it's safety in the celestial realm is very different than safety here, and it's surrendering that part of our soul that has to be like, okay, I'll compromise part of myself, but how do I not lose my soul and that essence while I'm here?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a really, really good point. And I do think that part of the hope and part of the connectivity and part of the light that I do think, like, that does come through channeled, and I'm curious how you feel about this too, like, is that we aren't alone and that we are protected and that we are safe in some ways in this really dark and scary world, is that, like, we do have this protection in some ways, because the world is really, the 3D world is really scary. Do you feel that, like, that there's some protection and some safety with what's around us?
Absolutely. And that's like why faith is so important. Whatever it is, even if it's religion, right? It's something bigger than you. And I keep thinking, like, first of all, this is a becoming. We're becoming who we are, which I forgot to say before. And like when I hear that, that is guides telling me that. That's my highest self telling me that. So I'm never alone. So even if I feel alone in this 3D, I'm never alone. And really, where I see it is when people are in crisis. That's often when they turn to faith and hope and surrender to something bigger than themselves, because they need that in order to keep going. It's all about keeping going, and whatever that is. So I unfortunately know a lot of people who've lost their parents lately, and like a parent, and they see messages. Like my friend has this cardinal coming to her every day. I'm like,
Mm,
that's your dad. Like I channeled that from
mm,
the minute, and she's like, I felt his soul leave, but like we felt more connected because he had, I think, dementia or Alzheimer's, and he wasn't communicating for the past 5 or so years. And she's like, I feel like I could finally communicate with my dad. So it's like this connection that they're not gone. Like they're actually more here and maybe more present than they were in their shell, like this body, right? So
ooh, that gave me a
yeah,
chill.
me too. And
Oh, I love that.
my friend, her wife's grandfather came to me the other day, and cardinals, I think it's not necessarily just one person. It's often they're the vessel through which like different spirits can come through and souls. And so her grandfather was there, and this is when I was like really frustrated this week. And I'm like, "Are you here for Jenna? And do you have a message for her?" He's like, "No, I'm here for you." And he's like, we have your back. And then all of a sudden lyrics came on that's like we've got you. I don't even know what the song was, but I've never heard it, and it was just on this random mix I was listening to, and the lyrics were literally like, believe because we have
Yeah.
you. And then he was just this great man. He's like, I'm here for everybody. Like, I'm not like, you've helped my granddaughter so much. Like, I really want to be here for you, and you need to believe in yourself, and that's where you're like really stopping
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And it just made me feel better. And then I talked to her. She's like, yep, that was like my grandfather always helping everybody. I'm like, he's like an angel. Like, I swear to
Oh,
God. And,
yes.
and she's like, it makes me feel so connected. So I think
Yeah.
it's this thing where it's like, we feel guided all the time. Like we know that there's someone watching. So we don't have to be so hyper vigilant all the time and look out for everything.
Yeah. I think that that's so, so important. And I think two things, came through as you were saying that. I think one is we are always guided 100%. I think one of the things that came through, as I was channeling the council earlier in the week, that was like the main message they wanted to come through, was like, you are protected, you are guided, you guys are safe. And I think people have a hard time hearing that sometimes, because they look around and they're like, the world is on fire, this is like a horrible place. And it's like, again, what you see is what you see, what you perceive, right? Like what you believe is what you see, right? And so that's also kind of like what's happening. But also, it's, I think both of us, I think big things that happened this week for both of us is like, I think we were also seeing like where we've been holding ourselves back. I think is like we've been seeing like
Mm-hmm.
what we've been kind of like using as like maybe these excuses or like what we've been like stopping us. And I think like those kind of like blocking points as to moving forward. And so like, yeah, I mean, I think like big like side points. So like for you, like what do you think has been like the big thing that's like been kind of holding you back?
Totally like not believing in myself. Like I have this weird relationship with money and
Um,
feeling like I can never break through. Like I've had successful things. I have a successful therapy business. It's not like I haven't, but in my mind like I never succeed and I can't get the money I deserve. It's not even like just like I have this unworthiness of things,
yeah,
but also like don't do things that I need to do. You're like your guides are like like my guides are saying like you need to get your ducks in a row. You need to get your ducks in a row. I'm like, what the f does that mean? Like
yeah, yeah.
like what am I not doing? You're like you literally need to make a website.
Yes, because I feel like and I don't know because I'm not sure what because everything happened so fast yesterday. What was on did we cover this on the mini episode or no?
No.
Okay. So because I feel like you don't think you can make money doing this because it's like that's like what's stopping you. And like, because it's like it doesn't feel real. And that's because it's like that inner belief system that this is a trick,
Yes.
right? Of
Right.
like that. And we were talking yesterday about like the snake oil. It's like that guy on the street that's like, come over here. I'm going to read your card. They're going to come over here and I'm going to sell you these watches. It's like, come here. Like, that's what I always like feel like. I feel like that's what I'm doing. But then it's like, I would never do that. And you would never, ever
Right.
do that. Like, we would never do that. And somebody said it to me once. Actually, you you sent me someone who does this. Oh my God, that woman, oh, shoot, what is her name that does not the EDMR? Is it the EDMR?
EMDR
Anne?
and she does
Anne.
MBSR.
Okay. She does MBSR and she said to me once,
Well, I just want to say what that is. It's called Mind, Body, Spirit Release. It's this really cool, like, energetic healing. We'll link it in the show notes.
yes. Well, she finds like beliefs and different things in your body and your energy and blocks. And one of the things that she said to me was one of the things that was holding me back was you can make money doing this. And see how my voice is going. So I'm starting to do the Annie thing. You can make money doing this. And when I tell you, I wept. Like I literally, like it hit me like I had been shot. And I feel that with you as well with this is that it's like this block of like, this is real. What I am doing is real. We are people who both come from like the very real science, realistic world. You are a psychotherapist. You come from studying psychology, which is science. It is hard to blend those worlds, but people like Dolores Cannon, people like this woman, Sarah
Brex,
Breck, Breckman,
Breckman. I don't know. So we'll link her
they
too.
they merge the worlds and it's because they had no choice but to merge those worlds because once you start seeing these things happen on a scientific level, on a psychological level, you can't help it to realize they're real.
Right. And you can just help people in a different way, And why are you not going to do that? Because some random people have this red tape that you can't cross, And I always feel like I'm going to be in trouble, like, doing therapy and saying something that probably my client needs to hear. Right. And it's not necessarily coming from me. So
Yeah,
maybe it's someone who like knows them better, even. Right. So I think it but you have this belief when you are a psychotherapist that you have to do things an exact way. And that's never been me either. I'm probably very out there for a psychotherapist, right? And now it's like I can really be exactly who I want to be. Why am I stopping myself from being really
right.
successful at that?
Right. And that's probably also what's been keeping you from being where you are truly, truly meant to be. And so it was so fascinating. I was watching this interview with this woman, Sarah, who what she does is the method that Dolores Cannon does, which is called QHHT,
Hmm.
quantum hypnosis, something
Healing. Yeah.
healing therapy. And that's when they put people in trance. And so what's so interesting about that is that when they put people in trance and then they get interviewed by the psychologists, is that then they interview them and what starts coming through is past lives, um, otherworldly beings. I just love that phrase. I don't know. It's because I like to watch Ancient Aliens and I just love when they call them that. But like, aliens and different things. And then they start speaking like this. And sure, it could be false memories. It could be different things, but like they come through and then these people get repeated things that it's like, why would it be made up? How could all of these people be talking about the same things, having the same histories, the same things coming up? So that these psychologists who never meant to go in this direction start doing hypnosis and now they're like led there, right? So I just think that there's so much that we don't know and we hold ourselves back by having these limited beliefs, by these like laws that we put ourselves on, like put on ourselves, these rules. And I do the same thing. Like it's like business school and masters of science and like all this stuff that I put on myself. And if I just lived in that cage that I created myself, essentially, like I would never do anything. Like I would never do anything.
And the sad part is, like, it's probably already in these sciences. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was saying yesterday, EMDR is definitely some sort of energy work. It's eye movement, desensitization, reprocessing. Yes. And it's basically like you move your eyes a certain way and it does something to your neural pathways. And my therapist, I've done it with her. She's like, you literally go into a trance. Like I go somewhere
Mm-hmm.
else. So like, I
Yeah.
think collectively, when you were talking, this came to me. Collectively, we need to be more open. We have this like very
Mm-hmm.
limited ability to like see what should be, right? This is science, this is not, right? When we don't even use like the most of our brain to know what is and what isn't, right? So why is it so beyond belief that something energetic could be really therapeutic and healing and be science, right? So I think collectively we need to open up our limiting beliefs as well, and that will take us to another surrendering. Like collectively we need to surrender, and I think we do that one by one because the idea, I guess, basically in spirituality is this like collective consciousness, we're all one, but it's so juxtaposed because it takes every individual to create that one, right? To do the work. So if you can surrender in some way, it's like look at your life and be like, where can I surrender so that I can have hope? I can have faith that I'm being guided, that I really can do what I set my mind to and create this new reality. You're surrendering to yourself and moving past these beliefs and creating new ones so that the filter through which you see the world is different and you can create that. You have the control. And if you're letting judgment or fear get in the way, you are doing that to yourself. And you have to ask yourself, what is so scary? What is it at the core? Because I was looking up yesterday, it's really individuation we're talking about. It's really understanding who we are at this core level, right? What is our purpose here? What are we meant to do? And most people think we only have this one lifetime that maybe we can remember, right? And that we're living in now. So, how do we make the most of it? And to make the most of it, you need to connect to that soul level. You need to understand what your true purpose is, who you really are, to live that authentic life and make the most of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting because to your point, like I do think that there is information if people go and look for it. There is evidence, there is information. Have you heard of Edgar Casey?
Yes,
Oh my
but I
God.
don't know why.
Okay. Edgar Casey is the sleeping prophet. Oh my God. Years and years ago. Okay. And our Blue Jay is here. Every time Beth and I talk, a Blue Jay flies. And that's probably Edgar Casey. I
Probably.
forget what year it is, but it's old, 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 old. And he would channel in sleeping trance. So they would call him the sleeping prophet. But he was doing it years ago. And there's also somebody else, I forget her name. Oh my God, I'm going to butcher her name. She was like Babuka or something. And she used to channel like the council years and years and years ago. And these are like these prophets from like, you know, and these things, they were doing it. They were doing it. And they have them as like, you know, Nostradamus and all this stuff. Like people were doing these things. And, you know, of course they were like far and, you know, few and far between or whatever, but like, you know, people were doing it and there's information. There is classified information that the government is hitting and blah, 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 blah. Like, I mean, Rob sometimes will say to me, like, I can't do conspiracies with you right now. Like, there'll be like some nights where he'll be like, I can't put our tinfoil hats on. And I'm like, okay, like, it's fine. But like, yeah, I'll be like, not tonight. And I'll be like, okay. But like, there are things like if you want to open your mind, again, it's the same thing as like we were saying before, like what type of environment, what kind of world do you want to live in? If you want to open your mind and you want to find stuff, you can find stuff. So like, you know, there is information. It's just like, how open-minded do you want to be? What do you want to know? What do you want to learn? Ooh, my ear is ringing. Okay. Well, the Blue Jay has a message. Okay, I don't know what it is. What does the Blue Jay want to say, Beth?
You know, I think it's probably like we were hitting on, like, you really need to, like, in order to have hope, you need to be open-minded enough to look at yourself, you know? And I think it's really, okay, you're getting something?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like letting it like fully come in, but they like, yeah, I feel like, yeah, I have to like go into like channel. I don't know what they like want me to do, but I can't. This is not the moment for this. I feel like.
I think maybe it is the moment for this.
Okay.
We're literally
Okay.
talking about being yourself, and
I know. Okay.
what better moment?
Okay. Okay. Do you want to talk to Jashun?
Yeah, whoever wants to come through can come through.
All right.
And if you're listening, Amanda is getting into her trance and channeling mode. Oh, he's here. I feel it, and I saw the smile.
Hello.
Hi, Jashun.
Hello. Hello, Bethar.
Hello, my legs are tingling. What is the message you have for us? Why'd you send the Blue Jay?
Okay. Okay. Hold on. May I like, calm her down a little bit, will you?
Okay,
Okay.
let's try and feel into the body.
Okay. 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 There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Hello.
Hi.
Okay. I want you both to do some research on this Edgar Casey, okay?
Okay. What does Edgar
Okay.
Casey have to do with us?
I want her to do some research on the sleeping prophet, okay? Because she does much of this being awake, yes?
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be interesting for you and her to do something where she is more under, yes? More sleeping?
Yes.
Okay, I think that'd be very interesting for you to interview her or me, yes, while she is not awake, okay?
So do I have to look up how to put her into hypnosis?
Yes, there you go.
Okay. Is this like a class I have to take, or I can just look up like an article?
No, you don't need a class, do you? No. No, you just look up how to do, okay? I need you to just look up how to do hypnosis, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look up how to do hypnosis. I want you to hypnotize her, okay? And you interview her. It has to be you, okay?
Okay.
Okay? This is something that you two will do, okay?
Okay.
She is the channel and you are the interviewer. This is very important, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay. This was important that this came through about that girl, yes, okay? This is something that's important. She is gifted in doing this, and you are very important in asking the questions and doing the hypnosis, the two of you together.
Hmm.
This is part of your journey together.
And does this have to do with the creation and on
Yes, much of the information that will come through will be part of that.
Okay.
Because much of the information that is going to come through and will be written in a book that the two of you are going to write together. Okay? You understand?
Yes.
Okay.
I see the book cover.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
what I want you to do, okay, understand this is going to be part of this series, okay? This
Mm-hmm.
tapes series that she's doing, okay. And also it's going to be a book. So I want you to, okay, you guys are going to record,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Okay? But something that is missing from these recordings, okay, is that it needs to also go into words,
Okay.
okay?
So we need to basically transcribe what happens in
Mm-hmm.
these.
Yes.
Okay. And is this to help everybody? Is this to help a certain person? Like,
This is for everybody that is open-minded enough. You can only bring people to drink, okay? You can only bring people to water who will drink it. You cannot force people to drink.
hmm,
You understand?
yes.
Okay.
And how will this help people?
This is going to help people change their lives, open their lives, change their lives for the better. This is going to help people to create, okay? This is all about creation, as you have figured out, okay? This is all about creation, creating worlds and about creating a world that people want to live in, okay? This is
Mm,
about living and creation. Does that make sense?
and in their individual lives, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes,
Okay.
but also collective, okay?
And how
Because
will it
one does not exist without the other.
affect collectively?
Because the one life equals all lives. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because it all makes sense. You cannot have all lives and not you cannot have one life without having all lives. It's all connected. All one is all and all is one. Because all come from one source. It is you are all the same. You are all the same. You are not actually all individual. You'll think you're individual.
And that's why we can create our realities because they're basically a
Hmm.
simulation.
Well, not simulation exactly. I mean, that sounds very, I don't know, like a video game. I don't like that. Sounds like a video game. I mean, it's more beautiful than that.
Yeah.
It's more like how do I say like a painting. More beautiful, more artistry.
It's more sensory.
Yes.
Okay. But that's why we can each create our own reality that we live in.
Yes, of course. So you create your own world. You create. Yes. You are your own creators of your own world. But you
And
are all creating very ugly things right now, no? Ugh.
yes, and we're trying to bring beauty and hope and faith back in, and that's why Amanda and I are here. And
Yes.
do you have a message to help people surrender right now because you're here on our podcast? So we want
Yes.
to align with that message. What can help people surrender? What is the message surrounding that?
Yes. So you must let go. Okay? So everyone is holding on very hard to these belief systems, these identities that they have. Okay? So these identities that you have created in these worlds that you have created, these identities you have created of yourselves. So you must let go of those. Okay? So I recommend that everybody, okay, gets a piece of paper, okay, and on that piece of paper they write, okay, I am, and they write their name, and then they write exactly out who they would like to be, and then very, very detailed, okay, as if they are writing a story about themselves. Because that's what it is. It's the story of your life, right? Very
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Not
Mm-hmm.
like a video game. The video games are very violent. I mean, that
Yes.
is you, right? 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 Okay.
Yes.
So it has to be very beautiful. Very beautiful. Okay. And write a story. So I am, right? So like I am Jashun. And then you describe. You describe what you look like. You describe everything. Describe what you want it to be, what you want to look like, what you what you want your world to be, your specific world, your individual world. Describe your partner, describe it all, and then you let it go. And maybe you fold it up and maybe you throw it in a fire, or maybe you put it in a box or under your bed somewhere and just let it go. Okay? Does that sound good?
Yes. And I'm getting that write this list and write the emotions that you want to feel because that's what you can manifest. It's the feeling, and then you could feel it in your body. And I actually wouldn't burn it until you start to see some of that coming through and embodiment of that. Is that right, Jashun?
Yes, that's very good, Bethor.
Okay. So I think that the surrendering message, I think that's such a good point. Jashun, do you have any other messages for our listeners and viewers today?
Nope, that is all. I'm ready to go. I just wanted to come through. And Bethor, we will speak to you again in a couple of days, yes?
Yes. We will
Okay.
be doing the light tapes, which you guys should tune into as well on YouTube. But thank you so much, Jashun. This was a much calmer conversation, and she's back. How did that feel?
That was good.
He like 1 second, like, poof, he didn't even say bye.
Yeah, you're just like, I gotta go.
Yeah. How does it feel? That was so different than the last time.
hmm That's how he kind of comes through now. I think I'm more used to the energy now. So I can feel like when it's like my arms were like hurting, then it was like hard to like hold the circuit, as Rob has told us that it's a
Yes.
circuit,
Yes.
the
Well,
energy through.
I think that's a really great place to end on because that was such a good channeled exercises. I am. So, write I am, write your beautiful life, who you want to be in it, where you want to live, what you want to do, what it looks like, and what you want, the emotions you want to embody. And I do want you to fold that up and put it somewhere that no one can find it, but that's special to you. I'm getting if people have a jewelry box or a nightstand where they keep things. If you have a journal, you could put it in there, but I would rip it out and fold it up because it's not part of the journal. It's your own creation story. Um, and there is like a full moon ritual I want that's going to come through. It's not going to be this piece of paper, but it has to do with this exercise where you're going to then write down everything you want to let go of. But we'll do a special thing for that because I don't want to get too ahead of myself. But that is a fantastic exercise that came through. That is a way to surrender and to understand who you are, what you want in life, like we talked about. Really, just to have this faith and hope and beauty in this life and have some levity. Let's not make everything dark.
Yes, I'm out of words. So
Yes.
we're gonna end it there and we will see you guys next week.
Thanks so much for listening. Bye.